From the men's room at Jackrabbit Slim's, it's the IGN Digigods. And now, two men known for the intensity of their blacks, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
And another fine intro from our longtime listener,
John Hartzell.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, John. Always fine intros. So, Mark, we had good times at our awards dinner, didn't we?
We did. You sat next to Jackie Weaver.
I did. And you sat next to?
My mother?
And?
Oh, the production designer for Inception.
Of course.
Who was very nice. He was there with his wife. And that guy's going to get nominated for an Academy Award.
Great story that he had about how he got the job.
He actually told me, when I walked up, it's funny, I walked up to him, the production designer for Inception, and I said, congratulations, we're sitting at the same table, introducing my mother, and I said, look, people assume that when you have a lot of money, then production design must be easy, because you can just buy whatever you want. We have all the money in the world, and that's not really the case.
No.
I mean, you still have to be creative, and everybody has a budget. And you still have to be clever, and you still have to service the movie. It doesn't matter how much money you have.
Yeah.
And he really appreciated that, and then he told me the story that he wound up telling on stage.
Which is that he was not the first choice, that Nolan's regular guy was otherwise preoccupied, and that he went in, he was one of a number of guys, of highly touted guys, and he was the kind of the unknown, and he went in without, he didn't bring his portfolio. He didn't bring any artwork. He just said, well, you seem to me the kind of director that knows what he wants and doesn't want me telling you what he wants. And he got hired based on that.
He got hired based on that, and then right after he got hired, Nolan said, now that I've hired you, could you give me a portfolio, please? But that's a pretty gutsy thing to do.
It is.
And look, the movie, I think the movie is one of the best of the year. I liked it a lot.
You liked it more than I did, but certainly the production design is the jewel in that crown.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, we got tons of stuff to talk about this week. Movies and DVDs and TV and all kinds of junk. But we're going to start off real quickly because we only have one foreign language title this week. Mark, this movie got a lot of love in the emails before our voting. And it is out on DVD this week. It is a Greek film that kind of got some attention. Well, it won the Certain Regard section at the Cannes Film Festival, a Greek film by the name of Dogtooth by a filmmaker named Yorgos Lanthimos. I'm not even going to try to describe this thing. Would you care to tell the kind folks out there what the hell Dogtooth is all about?
I like this movie. This is a bizarre, folks. If you like bizarre movies, if you like movies that are not like other movies, you need to see this movie. How can I explain this? In Dogtooth, there is, God, this is the simplest way I can say it. In Dogtooth, there's a husband and wife, and they live in a secluded home with their children. And the thing is that for their entire lives, their children have never left the house. And their parents have taught them whatever they wanted to. Because the kids have no other input from the outside other than what their mother and father says. They have spent their whole lives being taught the most crazy, wild, wackiest things like, cats, house cats are the most dangerous, ferocious animals in the world. If you go outside beyond the walls of the house, you will be attacked and killed. And so literally the kids in this house have never left the house because their parents have propagandized them with all these wild things that are going to happen if they leave.
Well, you are making this sound like a movie I want to see because you're making it sound better than I actually thought it was.
And the thing is that it's not funny. It's not played for comedy.
No.
It's played for surreality, if I may coin a phrase.
Right.
And Dogtooth is just it's funny because it's just so bizarre and not played for straight laughs. And it's just a really cool film. It's just very enigmatic and bizarre and indescribable. I'm telling you, man, you got to rent Dogtooth. It's just some crazy stuff.
Well, I will leave it there because
it is the most twisted episode of The Twilight Zone you will ever see.
That's a good way of putting it. Not my favorite film, but you know what? I totally accept that there are people out there that are going to really.
It was crazy.
You and Bob Kohler.
Well, actually, I'm surprised Bob liked it because it wasn't 4.5 hours long.
Also this week, terrific release from Vanguard. Once again, conflict of interest here for us because we did a commentary for this, The Bird Can't Fly with Barbara Hershey, which is a really intriguing film about a woman who returns to she's a chef, and she returns to the South African town that she's from after her daughter dies, and she discovers that she has a grandchild that she never knew about. Now, the whole thing is played for kind of magical realism or magical surrealism African style because this town is slowly being covered by sand. So there's a really surreal quality to it. But I think even if you don't particularly like this kind of film, I think you'll respond to it. Our commentary, of course, is brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's exceptional.
Especially my comments. Your comments,
yes.
I can vouch for your comments.
Yeah, well, But no, Barbara Hershey is she mixes it up in such interesting ways. And this is just one of those performances where you realize that she still not only has it, but she can do stuff you've never seen her do before.
Well, look, it's very difficult for women of that age to get work at all, let alone something that is so challenging and interesting as The Bird Can't Fly. It's a strange movie. It's not fair. It's not everybody's taste. Understand that. You may rent it and not dig it. It's a very surreal film, not everybody's taste, but you might want to give it a shot because we're just so brilliant.
We have gotten a lot of stuff from PBS lately. PBS distribution has just gone nuts with their documentaries, and there's some really, really good stuff out there. But the flow has increased to a quantum degree. So I am going to blow through in just a couple of minutes some of the best of all of this. That if you're a documentary fan, you get a smorgasbord of really good stuff in all of this, and it covers everything, all aspects of art and culture and performance and history and everything. So here we go. We have Paris, the Luminous Years Toward the Making of the Modern. This is a Perry Miller Adato documentary that is sort of all about modernism in art, and it is really, really intriguing. Gets into sort of how how Paris was the womb that birthed all of this. Then we've got Make No Little Plans, Daniel Burnham and the American City. Now, this is, if you've never heard of architect Daniel Hudson Burnham, you should have, because he's kind of the father of modern urban planning in many respects. And, there would be no skyscrapers without him. There would be many of the things that we associate with the modern city, in America at least, just wouldn't be there. So that's worth a look. And then William Kentridge, Anything is Possible. Again, a lot of you probably have never heard of William Kentridge. We spoke a little bit about South Africa with the Barbara Hershey film, That Bird Can't Fly. William Kentridge is an artist from South Africa who does kind of multimedia, rather extraordinary multimedia things that combine performance and film and just conventional art and really quite interesting because so much of him is political. Everything, anything to do with South Africa is political. So it's interesting how that impacts his art. Trapped in an Elevator was a particularly gripping installment of Nova. It will take you up and down the entire technical world of elevators. That was not a very clever way of putting that. I tried to make a little... No,
Wade's a little under the weather this week.
I'm a little under the weather, so if you can hear it in my voice. So brain's not working quite like I would hope it might. Anyway, this is all about elevators all over the world, and you've never wanted to know so much about elevators, but it's really fascinating.
Mike Rotman, the host of producer of Stupid for Movies, is afraid of elevators.
Is he really?
He will not go on an elevator.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Well, if he goes... Are you serious?
I'm quite serious. He worked at my company for a while on a freelance basis.
Yeah.
And he had to take an elevator upstairs. It was the only way, and it flipped him out. Jeez. It was bizarre.
Wow. Well, then we also have another episode of Nova, Quest for Solomon's Mines, which, of course, anybody who knows, don't just go off the dumb movies, but there really were, mines of King Solomon, and where his riches were from, and this is a kind of a joint effort between Nova and National Geographic on as they go doing a little bit of Indiana Jones work to try and track him down. Fine series on PBS is Secrets of the Dead. They've done a lot of great episodes, and this one is called Slave Ship Mutiny, and this is about the Meermen, which was a ship in 1766, a Dutch ship that had just filled with slaves that were going to be delivered, but the slave ship never made it to Cape Town in South Africa. And it is an honest-to-goodness mutiny, and it's really a fascinating piece of history. So this kind of reconstructs that. Really, really good. And then another installment of Secrets of the Dead is the Silver Pharaoh. The Silver Pharaoh is Pharaoh, and I'm going to mispronounce this like crazy, I know, Susenes the First. That's not bad. Anyway, this guy really does. He rivals all of the other tombs that have been opened in Egypt, and it's quite extraordinary. I mean, forget about the gold on King Tut. This silver sarcophagus is just breathtaking, and the political and historical anecdotes that go along with it are quite fascinating.
Says you.
Says me, for sure. Frontline did an unbelievable show called Death by Fire. Did Texas execute an innocent man? That's really even people who support the death penalty are always forced to say, gosh, there's always that risk that you might get one who didn't do something, and you don't want to find that out after the fact and, when it's too late. And this is about the execution in 2004 of a guy named Cameron Todd Willingham, who was executed for killing his 3 children. And now they re-examine it, and it may well be that he didn't do it. And that's just it's a horrible tragedy. But, regardless of where you fall on the death penalty debate, definitely watch it. It's really good. We're getting down to the end there, Mark. Masterpiece Contemporary did a show called Framed, A Story of Art and Love. This is... Again, this is fictitious, by the way. This is a narrative. This is drama. But I'm not a huge fan of this. But I know a lot of people were really, really into this. It's based on a Frank Cottrell Boyce children's novel, and it's got some decent performances in it. I found it a little bit twee. Is that the way that you always describe these things? Twee.
It really is true.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it takes place in North Wales, and it's kind of a family thing. But if you heard about it, check it out. Another Nova, Secrets of Stonehenge. I've actually driven by Stonehenge, never been there, but it's fascinating.
You crashed into it, didn't you? You crashed into Stonehenge and knocked it over, and then you had to put it back up.
And then Spinal Tap came along and sang their Stonehenge song.
Awesome.
With little tiny Stonehenges and midgets. Why do we love that movie so much? Anyway, no, if you don't know anything about Stonehenge, this will tell you everything you ever wanted to know. It's fascinating. We still don't really know what it was or who built it or why, but, it's great. And Nova gets right to the heart of the matter.
Oh, that Nova.
Episode of Nature Echo, An Elephant to Remember. Anything involving elephants, always fun. Echo was actually this quite a famous elephant. She died in 2009, but she had this unbelievable life. I mean, really, she's like the Katharine Hepburn of elephants. And so you get to sort of revisit what made this elephant so unique and so extraordinary and so world famous. And wow, what a life. Elephants live a long time, They do.
So does this segment of the show. This segment of the show lives a long time, too.
I'm going as fast as I can. Fixing the future, creating local jobs and building prosperity. Obviously, at this time, we need to know about how to get jobs back into this economy. And it's not the best way of, this isn't the most comprehensive look at it. This guy, David Brancaccio, is sort of takes you on a tour of how we can possibly do this and talks to economists and job creators and middle class and lower class. It's tonic for our times.
That's beautiful, Wade.
And a little bit of natural stuff here. We have another episode of Nature on both DVD and Blu-ray, Braving Iraq, which I quite like a lot. Definitely worth checking out on Blu-ray if you can. Saddam Hussein was not just a guy who murdered people. He murdered nature. And the Mesopotamian marshes were like this wealth of this amazing ecosystem, and he just ravaged it. Anyway, this is about how they can sort of get it back to where it was. It's pretty great. But look, it's beautiful to look at, nicely photographed. Blu-ray is always good for nicely photographed stuff. Also on Blu-ray, preferable to the DVD is another episode of Nature. Wolverine chasing the Phantom. You know what? Wolverines are mean, but I like them. They're just cool animals. So check it out. They're ornery, but they're awesome. And nature documentaries rule.
You know, at this point, Wolverine is so synonymous with the character that Hugh Jackman plays that you forget that a Wolverine is an actual...
It's an actual animal. It's kind of like a badger, but they're even more ornery than badgers. And then lastly, my favorite, once again from Nature, Revealing the Leopard. One of the most beautiful creatures on the planet. I mean, they are predatory. They kill things. I know sometimes you don't like it when they chase down gazelles and eat them and stuff, but gosh, they're just awesome. They're really awesome. And this is just, I mean, the photography will blow your mind. Absolutely check it out. This is basically, you know, the crew followed a female leopard and her cubs. And, you know, that along with some other anecdotes makes this a really cool nature documentary. So just they're getting close, man. Those leopards are just awesome. I love them.
Stupid leopards.
Stupid leopards. All right, so there we go. We just blew through that. We got some swag this week. Should we talk a little about the swag, or do you want to jump into TV?
I'll make you a deal.
Yeah.
I will talk about TV.
Yes.
If you promise.
Yes.
When I'm done.
Yes.
We'll talk about real movies that people care about.
You got it.
Okay. Jesus Christ. The Adventures of Merlin, Season 2. This show, I don't like this show because this is one of those shows that takes classic old characters and makes them teenagers. So this is essentially the teenage Merlin running around in medieval times and, you know, battling assassins and monsters and crazy sorcerers and whatnot. And I'm just not into that kind of stuff. Some good extras, though, if you are, including introductions by the cast and crew, commentaries behind the scenes. So if you're into Merlin Season 2, you should definitely get the DVD. Also, people don't remember that in the early 90s, the Family Channel did a Zorro show. And there were like 88 episodes of this thing. And on...
I vaguely remembered it. Until the DVD set came in, and then it all came back to me.
Well, now we have the full series, 88 episodes on 15 DVDs, Zorro, the complete series. This, again, is the 1990s era Family Channel series. The show is pretty stupid. There was an episode of this show where Santa Claus shows up. Now, this is Zorro.
No kidding.
Santa Claus.
Okay.
Zorro.
Okay.
Santa Claus.
All right.
Not happening. So there was some really cheesy stuff in this show, but some of the swashbuckling was some of the buckling was very well swashed. Let me just say. So that's a big old set, 15 DVDs there. Also from BBC, Doctor Who. Everyone knows what I think of Doctor Who, which is it's been on for 75 years. This thing like predates the dinosaur. These Doctor Who shows. We have
they're awesome. Well, the Tom Baker ones are awesome.
Well, there's some Tom Baker here. You know, Tom Baker was from 74 to 81.
Yep.
And there is a thing called Doctor Who Meglos. That's the Tom Baker stuff.
That's a pretty good adventure, actually.
Sylvester McCoy is from 87 to 99. So we have from him Silver Nemesis. And Patrick Troughton was from 66 to 69.
Jeez.
He was kind of a weird-looking, ugly guy.
All those early ones were weird-looking, ugly guys.
They really were.
Yeah.
They weren't very heroic.
John Pertwee was one of those. But his son, Sean Pertwee, he's part of that whole crew of young British Turk actory people.
Of young Pertweeans?
Yeah. Sean Pertwee. He's actually really good, actually.
Back in the States, The Temptations is
this has been out before, by the way. This is I love this. This is one of the best all-time TV movies. I don't know. I usually think TV movies and miniseries are crap, but this one really, really just rocked.
Well, this is Alan Arkush directed this, and this is good stuff. It's all told through the eyes of the founding member, Otis Williams, and this is an Emmy Award-winning miniseries. It's really good. It's all about Smokey Robinson. You know, you get some of the old classic characters there, and all the acting is very good.
The drama of how the Temptations came together and then fell apart, really, really well executed. It's just a terrifically well written movie.
The sixth season of Matlock. Look at this completely airbrushed Photoshop photo of Andy Griffith as Matlock playing the banjo.
I know. I don't know I don't know how is that supposed to sell off the shelf? Is anyone going to walk up and go, "Look, it's the season where Matlock plays the banjo"?
I mean,
what?
Come on, old people, just get with the program. You know, why is it that old people love seeing shows with other old people? Who cares?
I don't know.
Why don't you see a show that entertains you?
Yeah.
Like this is the worst show in the world, but people watched it because
I know.
it stars an old person.
It's bizarre.
Who gives an F?
I don't know.
Jesus Christ. Wait, the whole thing's pissing me off.
I know.
Also from the BBC, wait, you didn't talk about this. This is BBC crap you didn't talk about.
I know.
Waking the Dead.
I'm letting you do it this week.
This is Series 5. Now, because this is British television, this is only 6 episodes from the 5th series. This is it's a pretty good drama. All this BBC drama stuff is actually pretty good. It's about a cold case team, and they resurrect long dead cases and try to find the perpetrators. And it's not bad. Not bad. There's only 6 episodes, as we say, but it is all of Season 5. On Blu-ray, we have Justified. With between Deadwood and now Justified, there's always a little bit of Western stuff going on the old cable. And I like Westerns. Although I love Deadwood, I'm a little less enthralled with Justified.
It's so-so. I want to give it some time, to be fair to it. It may kind of become something.
Yeah, well, it stars Timothy Olyphant, and he's a kind of a modern day-ish kind of old West guy, and it's based on an Elmore Leonard thing, which is great. Although now that you're in the 2nd season, you've blown way past anything that Elmore Leonard had in mind for this character. But the guy, he's a Western kind of lawn man. He's in Harlan County, Kentucky. And, it's just some good stuff. It's almost like he's almost like an old-style cowboy, an old-style Wyatt Earp type sheriff in Kentucky. So it really kind of blends those sensibilities pretty well. People dug it. Another old-style cowboy is Webster.
Oh, yes, he is. The Webster.
Now, Webster, played by Emmanuel...
He got fat, too. You've seen him lately, haven't you?
That's terrible.
He's fat. He's a little Webster. How do you pack fat on that little body?
Oh, what happens to all of us. Now, Webster, which was a sitcom in the early to mid-'80s, Webster has never been released on DVD.
I know. Isn't that amazing?
So we finally have, with Emmanuel Lewis, Alex Karras, and Susan Clark, the first season of Webster. I have to say that I didn't get this stupid show.
The show had one concept behind it, which was...
What you talking about, Willis?
Yeah, that Gary Coleman kid. Let's find the next Gary Coleman. That's what it was. We got to find the next Gary Coleman.
Terrible.
And we're waiting on the Blu-ray for this, by the way. For people who've been asking, they sent us finally the Pacific, which came out last year on Blu-ray and DVD. We're still waiting for the Blu-ray, which is really more important because this thing was aired in high def, but not as high def as the Blu-ray. So the DVD looks fine. It's perfectly fine, but if you saw this during its original airing in high def, you know that the Pacific was a so-so middling kind of miniseries, not as good as Band of Brothers, but decent enough to hold your interest, but amazingly well photographed. So the question is, how does it look on Blu-ray? And we can't answer that this week. We can just tell you that the DVD comes in this really nice tin case. That
is true. 10 episodes in this epic miniseries. This is the Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks thing. And, those guys, ever since Saving Private Ryan, they're all about the World War II.
All about the WW2.
That's right, the WWII.
Yeah.
And it's a good, it's good stuff. Not every episode is total quality, but it's a very good, all told, very, very good. There's a bunch of extras on this thing. It's 6 discs. The thing won like 8 Emmy Awards, including Best Miniseries. So it's really good stuff.
It's it's an accomplishment. It's just if you compare it to Band of Brothers, it's not quite as good.
I agree.
But, now we're going to move into this week's movies, the movies on DVD. Interesting thing that's happening over at the Warner Archives. You can find more out about it at warnerarchive.com. That's where Warner has all of their, buy and burn it and... buy to burn or burn to buy stuff where, you can't buy it in a store. You can't get it anywhere. You just purchase it, they'll burn it, and then they send it to you on a DVD-R. A lot of old Vincent Minnelli movies that have never been on DVD before have now made the collection. Now, the thing is, if it's a Vincent Minnelli movie and it's never been on DVD before, it's probably not very good. The one that they have sent out for review, the others are not available, the one they sent out for review is 2 Weeks in Another Town. Now, this has an amazing cast, made in 1962. Vincent Minnelli is still in his prime. He's still making good movies, but this is not one of them. Now, I find it hysterical how Mark, tell me, this is what it says on the back. Okay, this is the text meant to promote this. In 1952, star Kirk Douglas, director Vincent Minnelli, producer John Houseman, yes, that John Houseman, and screenwriter Charles Schnee teamed for what many consider the greatest drama ever made about Hollywood, The Bad and the Beautiful. 10 years later, they took another Power Insiders look at the movie business.
What does this have to do with
This is their follow-up. But they preface it by saying they made one of the greatest movies ever about Hollywood, and you go like, really? 2 weeks in the town? No, Bad and the Beautiful. But this is the one that came 10 years later. Actually, what's interesting is there are some references to Bad and the Beautiful in here, which is kind of cheeky. But this really isn't very good. It's based on an Irwin Shaw novel. It's about the making of a kind of a Spartacus-type movie, hence wink, wink, nudge, nudge, the Kirk Douglas presence in it. Edward G. Robinson is the director. It just is really, it doesn't move, and it's not very good. And I don't know why all these people couldn't bring their talents together to make it work. I mean, Kirk Douglas, Edward G. Robinson, even Sid Charisse is in this. It should work. I don't know why it doesn't. But anyway.
You know what movie he made right after 2 weeks in another town? Courtship of Eddie's Father.
See? Now that's a good one.
That was his next movie. But still, for Minnelli, you know what? Well, look, to me, Minnelli's real decade was the 50s. That's where Vincent Minnelli was like.
True.
He was the man. And
he was
Brigadoon and the whole thing.
He was the man. We have got Open Season 3.
Thank God.
I know, right? Open Season 3. And you probably thought, really, Open Season 2? How did I miss Open Season 2? You missed it because this stuff is just getting spat out to DVD and Blu-ray, and so here it is. A Blu-ray DVD combo pack of yet another Open Season. Naturally, the animation, not up to snuff, but somehow this movie, this crazy quasi-franchise, continues to attract kids, so Sony sticks with it. It's fine. This is the Disney model, and Sony is kind of jumping on it. A lot of cool Blu-ray exclusives here. Look, the story, come on, it's a bunch of crazy animals in the Northwest, and it's got it just doesn't work. But anyway, it's got a circus plot, and that's always a bad sign, to be honest. Anyway, some Blu-ray exclusives. There's a Cannon Blast game, which has to do with the use of the cannon in the circus in the movie, which is really silly, and an interactive rabbit splat mode, which is also rather silly. You can, Mark, you can throw rabbits at the screen while you watch the movie.
I want to throw rabbits at the screen. Actually, you know what I want to?
It's silly.
I want to throw Welsh rarebit at the screen.
That's a good idea. Well, anyway, in conjunction with that, they sent us this little Open Season 3 plush toy.
I don't know what kind of animal this is. It looks like a llama.
Yeah, pretty much.
That little gray and white llama.
It doesn't even stand up, so it's kind of a useless toy.
Yes, it does. Look at that.
How'd you do that? I've been trying to make that thing stand up for the last half hour.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I'm good.
And, we also have the movie Gun on DVD and on Blu-ray. A city caught in the crossfire. This stars Val Kilmer looking, wow, so menacing. And 50 Cent, otherwise known as Curtis Jackson.
This is actually written by 50 Cent.
Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. Well, this is the thing. You think 50 Cent, this guy, he's been shot 30, 40, 50 times. Whatever it is. He's a tough guy. He's got a gangsta thing going. I think it is so impressive that he would say, you know what, I'm going to try and I'm going to do something different. So he did this movie Gun, which is about a guy who is in the court of King Henry the VIII. And
really?
No, actually, it's not. It's got nothing to do with it. It's
50 Cent just starring in the movie that 50 Cent always stars in, where he gets to look
exactly.
badass and hold a gun and pretend he's just gangsta bad.
Yep.
Whatever.
It's about Detroit and gun runners and lots of violence and shooting, and a lot of people in here who really have had better days, like James Remar and, frankly, Val Kilmer. John Larroquette also shows up in this thing for some bizarre unnamed. It makes no sense. You know who else is in this movie though? Who's really stretching? Like you would never expect to find Danny Trejo in a movie like this, would you?
Danny Trejo is in every movie like
that. Speaking of guns, Mark, you liked this movie a lot more than I did. I didn't see it in the theater.
I didn't like this movie.
Didn't you like? Oh, that's right. You were the one who didn't like it. That's what it
Almost
was.
one of the only negative reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well,
for this
I'll
movie.
let you go off on this, and then you can tell us about the Saw movies. No, Red. That's right. You were the one that destroyed the 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes for Red. That's
did.
right. Now I remember. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. This is the special edition Blu-ray of a movie that inexplicably also got a bunch of Golden Globe nominations, but so did The Tourist. I find let me put it this way. It's based on a graphic novel released by Summit. I like the cast. I like Brian Cox. I like Bruce Willis. I like Morgan Freeman. I think John Malkovich is terrific. I think, honest to gosh, Helen Mirren is terrific in this movie. I love Helen Mirren. Everybody knows that I love Helen Mirren. But this whole kind of aging A-team thing doesn't really work.
Didn't work for me.
Yeah, I just don't get it. It's kind of cheeky. It tries to have the zippy one-liners and those cool moments, but I don't know. I never got into it.
The problem with the movie, and there's lots of problems with the movie, is that it doesn't really do a lot with its premise, which is you get these older retired spies who get together for one last job. But I never get a sense that they use all of their accumulated knowledge over the years. They find ways to use their limitations to their advantage.
It doesn't feel like it had a plot. It feels like it had a bunch of sort of set pieces that they wanted to execute and string them together.
And the thing is that if this movie had any guts, because look, it's all about these retired spies, right?
Right.
One of the retired spies is Bruce Willis, who never plays anything older than 40 years old.
I know.
So you have Morgan Freeman and Helen Mirren and John Malkovich, but still, really, you're hedging your bets by casting Bruce Willis, who can still do action stunt scenes.
I got a question. Why is Richard Dreyfuss in this movie?
It's the silliest thing he's done since Moon Over Parador.
Yeah, but don't forget Piranha 3D.
Who can forget Piranha 3D?
Yeah, that too. He's having what a year.
Okay.
Anyway, all right. But that's Red. Mark, tell us about Saw.
Saw. Oh, there's more.
Oh yeah, no, those. Yeah, what do we got there?
Well, we have two Blu-rays. One is Saw, the final chapter unrated. The other is Saw 3D, the final chapter unrated. This is available on Blu-ray 3D. Now, if you read the little sticker, it says requires fully capable 3D HD TV, 3D Blu-ray player, or PS3, and 3D glasses not included, by the way.
Boom.
They don't even give you the 3D glasses. I mean, can you at least throw us a bone and give us the 3D glasses, which are like made out of plastic and cost 5 cents? I mean, come on, guys. That's just ridiculous. So we didn't see the 3D version because we don't have a 3D TV. All I can say is that the Saw, I think this is the 46th one in the series. I believe I stopped counting after 38.
Yeah.
Supposedly this is the final chapter. I think it is because the only reason why I think this is the final chapter is because the movie didn't do very well. There's really no place else to go.
At some point, all these franchises have to die so that they can reboot them.
Yeah.
So that Platinum Dunes can reboot them. But I don't think they can reboot Saw for at least another year.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Anyway, in the film,
I know. And normally I do have access to a 3D television system, but in the case of Saw, I just thought, really, honestly, really, like, what am I going to be able to say about this? There's no point. No point. We talked about Animal Kingdom on Blu-ray last week, and they wound up sending us the DVD as well, which I'm only going to talk about again just because, A, it's an awesome, wicked, cool movie, but also because, I had the enormous pleasure of presenting Jackie Weaver with her Supporting Actress Award at our LAFCA dinner, and sitting with her along with David Michaud, the writer-director of the film, and producer Liz Watts, all of whom are first-rate people. You don't find a lot of first-rate people in Hollywood. These people rock. Truly, Jackie Weaver was great. Her acceptance speech was terrific. Funny little toss she gave to Mel Brooks at the end. Very, very funny. And David Michaud, you know what? This guy is the real deal. He is young. He is talented. He is humble. He is absolutely just the sweetest, most charming person in the world. And Liz Watts, terrific. I mean, these guys just keep making movies, please. Just keep making movies. We need good people making movies.
And those Edgerton brothers, those guys are talented.
I know.
Talented.
And, in anticipation of Black History Month, a very interesting thing happened. They announced over at Warner Home Video that they were going to release 2 classic films from their library to Blu-ray for Black History Month. And those films included The Color Purple and Malcolm X. And then we got The Color Purple, but we didn't get Malcolm X. And so as I am soaking in the riches of a schmaltzy and overdone, but nonetheless very engaging film, the Steven Spielberg film that was nominated for, 12 Oscars and wound up winning none of them. Really, The Color Purple has just a beautiful score overseen by Quincy Jones, and it sounds surprisingly like what it would sound like if John Williams had written it. It's like a ton of people wrote that score. But anyway, here's the thing. Why didn't we get Malcolm X? So I inquired. Turns out Malcolm X, just on the verge of going to Blu-ray, was pulled.
Ooh, sounds like a music issue.
Yep, music rights. Isn't that wild?
I'm trying to think what music was in that film.
But
Just
why
all that period stuff?
I don't know. But I mean, really, the fact that it got right to the edge where clearly they pressed them. They pressed however many copies of that thing, and we got the press releases, and those things are coming off the factory line, and suddenly, bam, somebody hits them with a lawsuit.
Why would they not figure that out before they?
I don't know. It's mind-boggling. But anyway, the Color Purple, meanwhile, starting off Black History Month, and we'll have more great titles in that account to talk about next week. This is done as their Blu-ray book. They save the goodies for this particular treatment, and you get a 40-page booklet with really cool glossy photos and all kinds of goodies in it. So you really get your money's worth out of this. Color Purple looks spectacular on Blu-ray. It includes some great special features that you probably already saw if you have seen the special edition already on DVD, which includes conversations with the ancestors, a collaboration of spirits, all these great little documentaries. The Color Purple, the musical, which, of course, is kind of a bone to Oprah Winfrey, who produced that thing actually the last time I was in Manhattan about, what was it, 5-6 years ago? 6 years ago, 7 years ago. It was just getting ready to launch. So anyway, it really looks good. Beautiful, beautiful effort on Blu-ray. Good job, people at Warner.
You know it, Wade.
Mark?
Yes, on Blu-ray.
What up with that guy? Nowhere Boy.
On Blu-ray and DVD, we have Nowhere Boy. This is the story of John Lennon, and specifically John Lennon's childhood. Now, a lot of people know about John Lennon's Beatle years and Yoko Ono and whatnot, but not many people realize the very interesting childhood that John Lennon had. This is
it's amazing they haven't made a movie out of this story before, because it's a great story.
Somehow I wish they didn't make this movie out of the story.
I liked the movie. I didn't love the movie, but I thought it was competently made, and I thought the acting, especially by Kristen Scott Thomas and the other actress who plays her sister, I thought they were great. I thought they made the movie.
Yeah, but you know what? If the kid in this movie was not John Lennon, would you care?
No.
There's something about
You're
it
right.
where you just feel like, meh, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, John Lennon, he was raised by his mother's
his aunt.
sister, his aunt,
Yeah.
not realizing until he was older that his mother was living right down the block.
Yeah.
So he winds up striking up a new relationship with his mother. And
who's really never grown up. She's kind of a wild girl, There's that clash between the sisters, the irresponsible young crazy one and the responsible older one who already has kids of her own and all that stuff.
Yeah, somehow this movie never stopped being absolutely fine. It just never stopped being fine, and I was expecting a lot more. Do you need to see this on Blu-ray? You do not. There are no special Blu-ray specific features. There are deleted scenes that I'm making of, but otherwise, I think you can do better. I think a really good John Lennon documentary would do better than what this film does. Says I.
One of the funniest schlock films of the past 20 years is now 20 years old, and that is Lloyd Kaufman's Trauma release, There's Nothing Out There. Now, I had never even heard of this thing before, and so I'm kind of, it's like, really? 20th Anniversary Edition? I've never heard of this movie. But I don't hear about a lot of Kaufman Trauma stuff until it's long past its birthing date. The film was directed and written by a guy named Rolf Kanefsky. And is he talented? No, not really. But you don't have to be when you make movies for Trauma. This is kind of a spoof of all of those horror movies where people go away into the woods and then horrible things happen. It just really just riffs on that entire concept in a rather schlocky and often amusing way. Again, not good, but definitely worth checking out if you want to just enjoy the campiness of it all. And, I think it's actually funnier than a lot of those horror spoofs. The what are they called now? The scary movies.
Yeah, the scary movies.
Yeah, not as funny. This is funnier.
I don't find those scary movie spoofs funny at all.
I don't either, to be honest.
I feel like there's no cleverness to it.
No, you're right. It's just gags. On Blu-ray, Dead Space Aftermath. This is some pretty decent animation, I gotta say. So much of the stuff that winds up, the animated stuff that winds up on Blu-ray is, it looks either overly CGI'd or not sufficiently drawn if it's not CGI. But this is a collaboration between Anchor Bay and Manga, who does a lot of anime stuff, and it's a pretty decent kind of anime fusion. It has anime roots because there were some anime veterans involved in it, but it is nonetheless an American production. And, you know what, Film Roman oversaw it, and I think it's definitely worth checking out. The animation is better than the story by far, but definitely check it out. It takes place in 2509, way in the future. And the ship, I kind of enjoy this, the ship name here is USG O'Bannon. You get that?
Like Dan O'Bannon?
As in Dan O'Bannon. See, a little nod to Alien there, which is kind of cool. And alien-like. Oh, and the planet, well, I won't get. Yeah, there's some the fun stuff here. I won't give it away. A lot of cool little referential things here, both to American and Japanese stuff. But anyway, it has kind of an alien-esque plot to it. So yeah, not bad. Animation's really, really good. And then not so well animated is Dinner for Schmucks.
Yeah, I was not a fan of this.
Yeah, Dinner for Schmucks, of course it's not animated, but the people in it aren't very well animated. This is a sad misfire for everybody involved. Steve Carell, Paul Rudd, and director Jay Roach. All of them have done better work. This is a remake of the French film The Dinner Game by Francis Feber, which is much funnier, and which actually,
by the way,
never gets to the dinner.
There's no dinner in Dinner.
I know.
In the con game or the dinner
game. The dinner game, yeah. But here you get to the dinner and it just goes completely off the wall. This thing sails right off the rails. It's silly, it's goofy, it's absurd, and way over the top. And I found it totally unfunny. And of course, the idea is, there's a guy who wants to get a promotion, and he finds out his boss is a sadist who has this weird dinner where everybody's supposed to bring an idiot, an unsuspecting idiot, to talk about their weird occupation, and he has to go find an idiot to bring, and that idiot winds up being Steve Carell, who uses these weird dead stuffed mice to make these weird little dioramas. It just doesn't work. It's unfortunate. Anyway, it's on Blu-ray and DVD. We got it on Blu-ray. No reason whatsoever to watch this movie in any format at all. Not many special features, just kind of, outtake reel, deleted scenes, and some featurette stuff. All of it culled from the EPK. Not worth it.
Dud.
Not worth it at all.
Go rent the original.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Less good stuff is Secretariat. This is the Disney film with Diane Lane and John Malkovich. Disney does a lot of these kind of formulaic sports films, and some of them I like. I thought Miracle was good. I liked Miracle with Kurt Russell. This one, which was directed by Randall Wallace, who wrote Braveheart.
Seabiscuit, it is not, you're saying?
I love Seabiscuit. I do not necessarily love this. Here we have Diane Lane, plays Penny Chenery, who inherits this enormous stable from her father, and in this stable is this horse, and the horse, of course, becomes the last Triple Crown winner. What I didn't like about it is that it felt a little trapped in amber. It just felt a little too formulaic. It even had the classic hoary magical Negro cliche where like they have the
like the
magical Negro cliche where like the black the black trainer walks out onto the racetrack and screams at the top of his lungs, and something like never happened in real life, but it's just, he just, Lord, the horse is going to win, that kind of stuff. This is just so terrible. It's so cliched. It's almost insulting. Diane Lane is fine in a performance of total plastic. I just didn't like this movie. I saw it in a screening in West LA with Randall Wallace in attendance, and afterwards there was food.
There you go.
So I was happy.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing with the movie. It is very well shot, so the Blu-ray, I think, does give you something. So if you have a choice between Blu-ray and regular DVD, I would go for the Blu-ray, although this is a 2-disc combo pack, so you get both in this Disney release of Secretariat, which is kind of a mediocre sports movie.
Well, I kind of enjoyed it, but I agree with everything you said, and I have no disagreement. We got another interesting title here from the Warner Archive Collection. This one is worth checking out. It's called Two-Faced Woman. Here's the thing that really troubles me about the Warner Archive Collection, which is that all the great Greta Garbo stuff is in the Warner Archive Collection. They have not put it out on regular commercial buy-it-off-the-shelf DVD, which is a little annoying because it would be nice to have some of that stuff more readily available because Greta Garbo is one of the great movie stars ever. And people aren't being exposed to her. They're sort of you have to go search it out, and that's too bad. Two-Faced Woman, not her best film, but certainly a very good film, and it was her last film, made in 1941. It reunited her with Melvyn Douglas for the first time since Ninotchka, and also reunites her with her Ninotchka director, George Cukor, who would, of course, go on to direct My Fair Lady and win a very deserved Academy Award for it. Now, Cukor, one of the great Hollywood directors of all time. Honestly, Garbo may possibly the greatest movie star of all time, just in terms of.
I think if she had a longer career,
it would have been for sure. Anyway, again, not the greatest film they've all made, but a very good film, a fun romantic comedy in which Garbo pretends to be her own twin to try and resurrect the interest of her guy, played by Melvyn Douglas. A lot of fun stuff here, and definitely worth checking out, even if you just rent it, even if you stream it or whatever. But I would get this one on DVD. What I really enjoy is that they have the original one-sheet packaging here on the artwork, and the tagline here, it just wouldn't mean the same today. Mark, read the tagline for the people.
Go gay with Garbo.
There you go.
That's what it says. I just work here. Although, seriously, to me, her best performance is still her second to last film, which was Ninotchka. I mean,
Yeah, Ninotchka is just is it.
Yep,
that's
I love
the
that
deal.
movie. That is a great movie. And Melvyn Douglas was so young looking, but it's also that's Lubitsch, and you're talking just really. And you know what? It was co-written by Billy Wilder, so you've got some very
the pedigree of Ninotchka. When you look at the
yeah.
people who did that, you just go, "Oh my gosh!"
Billy Wilder,
my
Charles
gosh.
Brackett, Ernst Lubitsch,
It's unreal.
Greta Garbo.
It's like, how do you go wrong?
So, but the thing is that it was 1939, but it's not one of those kind of boring old movies. Billy Wilder was he was a great writer, and he had a lot of personality and a lot of humor that holds up today. Not like a lot of the old style humor that doesn't hold up today.
True.
The Billy Wilder stuff totally holds up.
We have some compilations now that we're going to get into. Believe it or not, Claudette Colbert and Fred MacMurray made some romantic comedies together. Not hugely crazy classics, but they made some. They made 3. The Gilded Lily in 1935, The Bride Comes Home in 1936, and Family Honeymoon way down in 1948, 12 years later. And good chemistry here. I don't think any of these films are just amazing, but I love both of these actors so much that it's just a lot of fun to watch them. And you get some really good supporting performances here, like Ray Milland and.
Nah. There's only one Fred MacMurray movie that matters.
Well, are you The Apartment?
Yeah, I guess there's 2.
Yeah, they're both Billy Wilder movies, The Apartment and Double Indemnity.
Yeah,
and he's completely different in each. Well, he's kind of dark in both of them.
I always thought that was the oddest casting of Fred MacMurray in Double Indemnity.
It works though.
Oh yeah, it works great.
It works.
But it was funny. I'd read the Cameron Crowe
Oh, that's right. Yeah. The Billy Wilder book.
Yeah, and Fred McMurray realized that was not the perfect movie for him. So basically, he just trusted Billy Wilder just to say, if I'm screwing it up, just tell me, because I have no conception of why I'm in this movie.
Well, I'm gonna, if you are a Ronald Reagan lover, you are gonna be thrilled because 2011 is all about Ronald Reagan. If you don't like Ronald Reagan, either as an actor or a president, just grit your teeth. It's gonna be all about Ronald Reagan. I'll tell you why. Because 2011 represents not only the year that would have been Ronald Reagan's 100th birthday, but also the 30th anniversary of him being elected president. So everybody's jumping on the Reagan bandwagon. And starting it off, we have this release from Warner Brothers called the Ronald Reagan Centennial Collection. And what they've done is they've gotten a bunch of old Reagan movies out of their library and thrown them all onto one box set. Some of them have been out before, some of them have not. You get 8 movies, including Bette Davis, excuse me, in Dark Victory, which you go, what? That's a Bette Davis movie. That's not a Ronald Reagan movie. Right, but Reagan's in it. Newton Rockney, All-American, definitely a Reagan movie. King's Row, ensemble film, Reagan's like third billing. Desperate Journey, he's kind of a co-star. And then you get This Is the Army, Hasty Heart, Storm Warning, and The Winning Team. Now, those last 4 are kind of filler here. The top 4, Dark Victory, Newt Rockney, All-American, King's Row, and Desperate Journey, those are the real movies. Desperate Journey is the one, it's actually a World War II film with Errol Flynn in it. And that's a pretty good movie that a lot of people may not have heard of. So, definitely check that out. But the others, whatever. They throw them in when there's nothing else going on. And then the better boxed set is the films of Rita Hayworth, which includes introductions by Martin Scorsese, Baz Luhrmann, and Patricia Clarkson. The movies here are CoverGirl, Tonight and Every Night, Gilda, Miss Sadie Thompson, and Salome. Now, Gilda is the to die for movie that everybody just points to when they want to say, you want to see how glorious Rita Hayworth was, forget about Marilyn, forget about all the rest of them, it's all about Rita. And I have to say, I am partial to Rita because Rita was one of my father's students. My father taught Rita Hayworth when she was a little girl. Her father was my father's dancing instructor at his school. My father had an acting school, and Eduardo Canceno, Rita Hayworth's father, was the dancing instructor. So little Rita Hayworth and my father were tight. So Rita Hayworth is a very popular name in my household. But that being said, that conflict of interest being fully bared, I just think she is divine. And even in movies where she's not so good, like Salome, which is kind of nearing the end of her hotness, awesome. Still, she's great. She just lights it up. So check it out. Gilda, obviously, you can get separately, and CoverGirl is not bad either. But it's a good set. So the films of Rita Hayworth, the collector's choice from the people at Sony.
From the good people at Sony.
The good people at Sony. Mark, what else we got?
Well, we have something that seems lame, but it's actually really cool. This is the Ultimate Gulliver Collection, 2 full-length animated features. And the reason why...
This was supposed to piggyback on the Jack Black movie.
Boy, that thing just was dead on arrival.
Jeez, that just died.
Dead on arrival. The first feature-length animated film was, of course, Snow White.
And the second was Gulliver's Travels.
That is true.
Yeah.
The second was Gulliver's
By
Travels.
the Fleischers.
That's right. And that is what this DVD contains. And I remember that Gulliver's Travels when I was a kid watching it, and it's very good.
Oh, it's awesome. But it nearly bankrupted them.
The Fleischers.
In fact, it may have.
Sure, Max and Dave, sure.
Yeah.
Now, Max and Dave, of course, also did all the Popeye cartoons. And the Betty Boops.
Yeah.
So here we have Gulliver's Travels, which is a real serious piece of animation history. So that's great, and also something a little newer called Gulliver's Travels Beyond the Moon. That's kind of like whatever. It was actually anime produced in Japan, so it's a little bizarre. So you got that. You've got 7 Fleischer cartoons, which are vintage and great, and you've got Gulliver. You've got a Gulliver film. Get this. Now, Wade, you'll love this.
Yeah.
We got a Gulliver film from 1902 by special effects pioneer Georges Méliès.
Oh, that's sweet.
which is really great because
That's sweet.
Méliès was sort of the original movie
magic guy.
fantasist.
Yeah.
He was the original special effects guy.
That's pretty great.
He was the guy who did Trip to the Moon in
Yeah.
1903 or 1902, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so this DVD looks lame on the surface, but it's actually really cool.
Awesome. Sweet.
Also moderately cool is the Bob Hope collection. This is a 5-movie set from the good people at Shout Factory, who we always like very much. The 5 films are The Lemon Drop Kid, Road to Bali, Road to Rio, My Favorite Brunette, and The 7 Little Foys. Now, not all of these movies are great, but unlike other multi-movie sets, none of these are terrible. These are all decent
Yeah.
Bob Hope films.
Yeah, they're all good. I mean,
There's not much of a stinker in the bunch here.
The Seven Little Foys is kind of an odd one because it's a dramatic role. It's not a particularly comedic film in any sense, but he's really good in it. He stretches a little bit, and it's based on a true story. That's the interesting one to me.
And you've got 2 road movies, which is great.
Oh, any road movie's great.
Come on, get some. Bing Crosby.
Road to Bali is kind of a public domain title. It gets out there, 150 different times, but this transfer is really good. So get this for Road to Bali instead of the others.
For the Bob Hope lover in your life.
And if you're a Guy Madden lover, then you're going to want to get the quintessential Guy Madden. Now, this is from Zeitgeist, and all they've done here is they have taken, Guy Madden is a guy from Winnipeg, Canada, who makes very strange movies that make David Lynch films look normal.
I like Guy Madden.
I do too. He's a great guy. I mean, but his movies, the idea is he shoots them so that they look like they were shot in 1927 with really bad recording equipment, and then somebody rolled a Mack truck over the negative. It's intentional. But anyway, the 4 discs here, and the movies are Careful from 1992, Twilight of the Ice Nymphs from 1997, Archangel 1990. Dracula, Pages from a Virgin's Diary from 2003, which is really interesting. And then his 2004 film, Cowards Bend the Knee. They all have commentaries on them with Guy Madden and his associates. And there's a really cool hour-long documentary here, narrated by Tom Waits, of all people, that's all about Madden's coming of age.
I cannot imagine Tom Waits.
Guy Madden came out of Winnipeg and he decided to make some weird movies. And then there was an old, sad man on the side of the road playing a banjo.
Wow, Wade.
I know, right?
Impressive.
You also get some short films and radio stuff. It's a nice collection. Now, all of these movies have been released previously by Zeitgeist, but they have put them all in a regular DVD keep case sized package that is beautiful. So it's space saving. And it's gorgeous. So if you don't have any of these movies yet, get this one.
Says you.
And wrapping things up, we're going to talk about a documentary, Client 9, The Rise and Fall of Elliot Spitzer, which I think is one of the great documentaries of last year because they get Spitzer to be... Alex Gibney is a hell of a documentarian. He did the Taxi to the Dark Side.
Which won an Oscar.
And here he gets... Spitzer to be very frank and on the record about everything, and he gets other people to be very frank and on the record, and it really is, I thought, gosh, didn't we see all this in the news just a few months ago or a year ago? Like, what more is he going to tell me? You know what? He tells you a lot. He really he gets the inside story in ways that you would never have known if you were just following it in the mainstream media.
It charts a very interesting arc, which is Spitzer's the ascension of his career, and how he became really a crusader against big business, where he took it as an almost religious charge.
The people who would eventually cause and in many ways be implicated in the big meltdown, he was already on their tails long before anybody else.
Yes, and what happened was he wound up making some very powerful enemies.
And they took him down, and he got a little full of himself. There's a Citizen Kane aspect to it in many respects.
There is some hubristic, reasons why he wound up. But again, ultimately, he made some very powerful enemies, that didn't help.
Yeah.
So the movie charts a really smooth, interesting, full, complete arc of his rise and fall.
It is a terrific documentary. And it is on Blu-ray. They sent it to us on Blu-ray, and I gotta say, it's probably enough to have it on DVD. But Magnolia is making an effort to try and mainstream even their documentaries on Blu-ray, and this is a particularly good effort, really attentive work. So that's it for this week. Email us at gods@digigods.com. Watch us Thursdays, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, stupidformovies.com, but not this week because it's Oscars on Tuesday, and we will see you next week.